It's an absolutely wild day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Hasbro is facing a major lawsuit from its own shareholders over the fact that they believe that Wizards of the Coast is actively ruining the game and destroying future profits. This is very much a you reap what you sow situation, and Hasbro is on the back foot.
Magic. History.
I'm an old wizard!
The Magic Historian.
My bones hurt. Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for a mind-blowing installment of Mega Magic News. Now, I'm still recovering from my surgery, so my energy level might be a tad bit lower than usual, but we're gonna get through this together, and I have some fun news about how I'm coming to America in about 6 weeks. So we'll talk about that after we go through the insane lawsuit situation. Hasbro is absolutely getting what they deserve here. So, two of Hasbro's shareholders, who have been shareholders for about 5 years roughly, have come forward and filed a lawsuit against Hasbro, the CEO of the company, and some company directors, and Cynthia Williams, who was obviously recently with the company as well. So basically, there are a number of claims that they are making, and these claims are genuinely a reflection of the reality of what's going on with Magic the Gathering right now, as far as I'm concerned. As somebody who's been following the history of the game for a very long time, and someone who's been reporting on these issues and decrying the choices that Wizards has made, saying specifically that they are not taking the long-term health of the game into account and are damaging the game with these quick cash grabs. That's the stuff I've been talking about. So it's very satisfying for me to see shareholders from the company come along and go, you know what, bro? You're doing this wrong, and we're going to sue you. Because at the end of the day, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro views us as the customers they can extract money from to give to their shareholders. The corporation's job is literally to generate value for their shareholders. So being sued by those shareholders is a very big deal. Now, let's talk about some of the accusations that are being made in this lawsuit. We have claims of unjust enrichment. So unjust enrichment is where somebody loses out, another person gains, and there's no reason for it. So in a normal situation, if I give you $100 as a gift, I'm down $100, you're up $100. But there's a reason for that. I chose to give you that money. Unjust enrichment is a situation where, okay, the company gets $100, this person loses $100. It wasn't because they bought anything from them in a particular contract or anything like that. It's literally just, okay, you're just taking my money. More along the lines of the shareholders are the ones who are having their money taken and they're not being given anything in return. Right now, obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I'm trying to simplify this so it makes sense to you guys. But unjust enrichment basically means you weren't supposed to get this money. We weren't supposed to lose this money. We're entitled to restitution from you. So you got to give us some money back, right? One of the other things they're talking about, waste of corporate assets. So money is not being used properly. Basically, it boils down to companies like this, when you have a public corporation, you have fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders. You're legally obligated to try and get them money, minimize their losses, maximize their gains. That is actually the law. So when you do things like waste corporate assets, you are not basically taking the proper steps. You're breaching your responsibilities, right? And there's also accusations of gross mismanagement, and there's a number of other ones that are mixed in there as well. So those are the claims. What are they based on? Well, they're based on a number of things. One is the overprinting of Magic the Gathering. And this is very much not to make sure that we're all on the same page, this isn't a one particular set is being overprinted, because you might hear that and go, wait a minute, man, listen. I go to the store to get Edge of Eternities or Khans of Tarkir or any of these new sets, and they're only there for a week or two on the shelf, and then they're gone. So if you think of one particular set, you might be like, okay, that's not really overprinting, right? But there's not that much of it. But if you look at the absurd pace that we've been on, where now every 7 weeks we're getting a brand new full Magic set, not even including all the secret layers, it's absurd. I was hanging out with some of my buddies yesterday who've been playing Magic forever, and they were like, man, remember when we used to get a Magic set every 3 months? And I said, bro, it used to be every 4 months, son. We would get 3 sets a year and maybe a core set. So then you'd maybe get one. You're like, that's the situation. So we have this cranked up pace where basically what they're saying in the lawsuit is that there's a 46% increase in releases across 1 year. Just look at this. We have 46% more releases. And when you think about it, you stop and go, I mean, they have created an absolute absurd number of releases. Now they're saying in the suit, they're saying there was 39 releases in 1 year. Now that obviously includes secret layers. Secret layers aren't on the same level as full-on sets, but they do take time and effort from the company to produce, right? So you have a situation where not all the products are being treated equally. We have the concept of a parachute strategy. So they are claiming in the suit that Hasbro is using a parachute strategy. So instead of having a roadmap where they're like, we're going to do this, 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 and this, they are now parachuting in extra products that they did not intentionally have plotted out to start with. They're basically looking at it and going, okay, every 3 months, we have to report to the shareholders. We don't want to have bad information for them in terms of we haven't made enough money, things don't look good. So let's create additional products and just jam them in like fiends, right? So that we can get a little boost of revenue, a little boost of revenue, a little boost of revenue. And you know what we've seen with all these recent secret layers? We've seen horrendous errors where counterspells that are supposed to be instants are sorceries. Cards like Coma don't actually have the right wording on them. Like we're seeing all these products that are abjectly awful. Like you just look at it and go, there's no excuse for this other than they're working at a breakneck pace. And this also plays out in terms of the regular sets of Magic the Gathering. So for example, Final Fantasy squatted over everything, basically drawing up a bunch of reprints in terms of the number of boxes they're going to be printed. So the print run for Final Fantasy was sent through the roof ahead of time, which necessitated driving down the print runs of other sets overall, which means they're getting less attention. And if you actually go and listen to things like Mark Rosewater's Drive to Work, you'll hear him very basically clearly say that they spent less time working on sets like Aether Drift and Markov Manor because they were spending way more time on sets like Final Fantasy. But that was, like, Final Fantasy is an outlier. If you look at the other Universe Beyond sets, things like Spider-Man is an abject failure. And that's because they lazily slapped a product together and then at the last minute decided to extend it out into a bigger product and shove it into standard. So when you look at what they're doing, the products were never created, like the Spider-Man product was never created to be a full-on set. They had to add in a bunch of things that they didn't have to worry about licensing. Here's a pigeon with a hot dog. Here's a subway car. All these things that were very, very generic because they didn't have the time to go back and make a new licensing agreement for all these extra characters. So you end up with this absolutely watered down garbage that still has an inflated price tag because of Universe Beyond, right? And it just gets to the point where they are pushing way too much product through the pipe. They can't do anything right, and this has an ongoing knock-on effect. Like the suit says specifically that through their actions they have damaged a number of relationships. They've angered retailers and players and done long-term damage to the game while devaluing the product. And I would actually go further and say they've not only angered retailers and players, but they've also actually angered distributors in the middle of the chain, because Magic the Gathering used to be a product you could sit on. Distributors will be like, okay, we're going to get our allocation, we're going to take 20%, and we're going to set it aside and keep it because X months down the road, we're actually going to be able to charge more for it, right? So the distributors would sell off a bunch of their product, but they would keep some going, we can make more money off it later. That completely changed. Markov Manor came along and damaged the relationships so badly that distributors wouldn't actually take product back from the retailers. The retailers got stuck with it, distributors got stuck with it. It was an absolute horrific cash loss, terrible situation across the board, right? And Wizards is absolutely responsible for that. They're constantly manipulating things. They wanted to do a Clue tie-in that totally, absolutely failed. With Thunder Junction, they actually had to admit they messed up with the Aftermath style sets and shoved that big score into the main set. And then they were still worried about what was going to happen, so they actually released Thunder Junction early. Game stores were surprised to find Thunder Junction showing up weeks earlier than other sets. But when you look at it, the reason for that is because by releasing it earlier, they put it into the earlier quarter, which means they get to go, oh, look at all this extra product we sold in the earlier quarter. So they're literally doing manipulative things to pull the wool over their shareholders' eyes and be like, yo, everything's all good, man. You don't need to worry. We are definitely totally keeping everything 100% good, right? So the shareholders are looking at this, these ones who are suing, and they're basically saying that a number of these issues were absolutely avoidable and predictable. And actually one of the biggest things that comes about as a result of this is a discussion about this. You guys remember this? Magic 30, the biggest uproar in Magic's history, $1,000 for a box with 4 booster packs in it. $1,000 US. Now, these cards, they have gold backs. So guess what? They're not gold backs, sorry. They're gold border. They're gold border proxy style like backs, right? So they have they have a special back with a gold border, whatever. Check it out. They're not actually like real Magic cards, guy, but they are real Magic cards. So we didn't violate the reserve list because we didn't actually reprint real usable Magic cards. These aren't usable Magic cards. Wizards came out and said, pay us $1,000 for a box of proxies. And they tried to say, oh, it's just for like people to enjoy the old school experience and collect and whatever. But they also manipulated the print line so that it would have more Sol Rings and it would have more dual lands in an attempt to get Commander players involved in this. So do you know what happened with this product? This product was pulled from sale after 1 hour. The suit actually says that talking to internal employees that this product, after 1 hour after release, was put on pause. And anybody could have seen this happening from outer space because Wizards of the Coast got so tone deaf. They thought that they could rob us blind, and everybody and their mother was like, you're out of your minds. There's no way on earth we're buying this, you idiots. So they looked at it and they panicked, right? They touted to their shareholders, we're going to make so much money off this. If they had priced these packs like $25 a pack instead of $250 a pack, they would have gotten away with it. They would have made an insane amount of money, genuinely. The product that the market would have accepted, there would have been some grumbling, but the market would have accepted it, right? And instead, they completely, absolutely blew it with this. It's the cards are garbage too. In case you're wondering, when they printed these, because I've opened this, when they printed these, they didn't improve the card quality. The cards are all beat up and warped like every other set. They literally thought we'd pay $1,000 for that. So after an hour of it not selling, they just put a pause on the sale and they went, so the product's no longer available. And basically, what the suit is saying is that was said in an attempt to pull the wool over the shareholders' eyes and make them think that the product had actually sold out. It did gangbusters, not that it was so miserable we actually had to stop selling it out of embarrassment. And do you know what happened to it, guys? Pictures surfaced of these cards all ending up in a garbage dump. Think about that. They just bulldozed them like it's nothing. They tell us it's worth $1,000. They literally send the most expensive cards, Time Twister, Black Lotus, stuff like that, to sports celebrities and things in hard cases, trying to create this air of this is an expensive, awesome product. But instead, they sold none of it, right? So you end up with a situation where it's pulled from sale, goes to the trash heap, that's what they deserve. And it did inestimable damage to the game. You have no idea. For somebody like me who's been around forever, watching it unfold was absolutely amazing. There was a massive exodus of people who sold off their collections. So many people sold their collections as a result of Magic 30 that game stores started putting pauses on their buy list. I had never seen this in my life. I've never seen a single game store go, yo, so we're not buying cards at all. Like, that's never happened. Meanwhile, all of these game stores start going, we're not buying cards. Bulk buying of rares and stuff literally disappeared and never came back. This fundamentally damaged the secondary market for Magic on a huge scale. And the effects of it still linger now, years later. It's actually quantifiable. It's a study in insanity and greed. And Wizards wasn't just messing with Magic at the time. They were also trying to hose D&D. They literally drove off Critical Role, this huge group of people who were a massive advertising unit for, like, they weren't being paid to advertise, but them just playing Wizards games was making a ton of money for Wizards. And Wizards tried to take their money and hose themselves, but the D&D players were amazing. They stood up to Wizards and went, nah, son, we're not doing any of this. And Wizards had to go, so we rolled a 1 and fumbled it, boys. We're not going to do the things that we did. It's a whole hilarious story. So this whole era is great evidence of, yes, actually the leadership at Wizards of the Coast was completely clueless. They were trying to rob us on every front, and they got what they had coming. Magic 30 is the biggest debacle in Magic history. So basically, they're saying that Wizards is like being used to crank out an insane amount of product, and it's being used to prop up Hasbro. Hasbro is failing in a bunch of different ways, and they're losing money everywhere. Like, if you take away Wizards of the Coast, then you basically have what's left? Monopoly Go? And that's it. Like, there's very, very little bringing in money for Hasbro. They are getting just completely decimated by the new world where kids don't want toys. They have tablets and stuff. Like, Hasbro is an ancient dinosaur that doesn't know how to live in this world. Magic is its life support system. Why do you think they made it a division of the company, right? So if they lose Magic, they're hosed. And basically what's being said is there's a smoke screen where they're trying to make it seem like Hasbro as a company overall is more healthy than it is. And it's being done by pushing Magic the Gathering to such insane production levels that it's going to damage Magic, and has been damaging Magic, and it absolutely has. There's like, it's very, very clear to me that it has, from somebody who's been playing this game for forever. So by flooding the market with this insane, unending deluge of products, you have devalued it all, right? And so on top of that, by doing all this parachuting and cranking all this product, they have overinflated the stock price. And at that higher stock price, they actually initiated a stock buyback. So they were buying their own stock back at an inflated price that they had to know was an inflated price, because they're responsible for this strategy of just slap more in, slap more in, slap more. We're not going to make more money. We're not going to make enough money. Secret layer, secret layer, secret layer. Making this extra set. So honestly, when you look at what's going on and what's being said by these shareholders, it genuinely feels like they are right. You know, like when I look at everything that's happening, it feels in line with what I've been seeing. Now, how is this lawsuit going to impact Hasbro? That's the biggest question, because this isn't as cut and dry as you would think. These accusations actually have to be backed up with quantifiable proof. You can't just make an accusation and then go, now that I've made the accusation, you have to let me look at all your internal information because I'm suing you. You have to bring enough tangible proof to the table, and they do have information from internal employees, so we'll see. But you have to bring enough tangible information to the actual legal process, and then you will get the ability to look under the hood and see what's going on. But you have to reach a certain threshold. And Wizards of the Coast is going to be able to argue that, look, our strategy has been successful overall. Final Fantasy is the most successful set of all time, right? They sold out the first day it was released or whatever. It was already the most successful set that they've ever had. So this isn't cut and dry in terms of will they actually be able to do the full extent of this lawsuit. But what's most likely going to happen is this is going to result in a settlement. Hasbro is just going to turn around and go, it's cheaper to just pay these guys off with some money so they leave, right? They may not go that route. They may drag it out with the lawyers or whatever. But honestly, from a corporate perspective, keep it quiet, just give them some money, get them out of here. But if shareholders are showing up like this going, yo, you owe us, right? And that's just two of them coming at them this way. How many more are going to come out of the woodwork? After, oh, look, I just carved off a little bit of Hasbro for myself because they hosed us. Now another lawsuit comes in. Now another lawsuit comes in. And this is all tied in as well to the lawsuit that came out in 2022, right? So this is probably going to create a cascading effect where you're going to have more people coming along going, well, you're settling with these guys. We're shareholders too, right? You owe us too. So this can have a genuine knock-on effect, and it's disastrous for us as a Magic player because the cost of all of Hasbro's lawsuits and the settlements come out of our pockets because Hasbro's products, mostly across the board, aren't succeeding. So this will turn into higher prices for Magic, which will just exacerbate the problem. They will try and create more products at higher price points, and the market won't accept it at a certain point. If you look at what's going on in the world right now, people are struggling. They don't have a lot of money, and you can notice a trend where things are getting cheaper in some, like we can see rent prices actually being pushed down. We can see all of a sudden restaurants are coming out with ultra super value meals where it's like, we're not going to include the drink, but now you can get something for $4. The financial landscape of the world is changing, right? There's a lot going on. So Magic the Gathering is a luxury product, and there are a lot of people who have a lot of money. So it's not exactly an apples to apples comparison, but it's worth keeping in mind, right? So ultimately, it remains to be seen how much damage this is going to do to Hasbro, but there's no way it's not going to cause some damage, and they've earned it. They are, like I said, they're reaping what they sowed. They planted these seeds, and now they're getting hosed, right? They have been treating us as customers very poorly, taking advantage of us, giving us very poor quality products that are rushed out in garbage. Some cases, that's not the situation, right? For example, Lorwyn Eclipse is actually great. They did a really good job with the set. There are quality issues, but they put a lot of effort into it, including the Muppets, Henson, puppetry stuff, all of it. It is actually really good. It made me stop and go, you know what, Wizards? I'm giving you the thumbs up for that one. I want more Lorwyn Eclipse, but it's only going to be on the shelf for like 2 weeks before other crap is getting jammed down our throat. Cowabunga, Turtle Man! You know what I mean? And like, how is that going to go? Also, the Turtle stuff ruined the Lorwyn pre-release, and the whole spoiler season was damaged by that too. And you can argue that by damaging the spoiler season, you decrease hype, and thus you will make less money from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set, right? So the constant errors that they're making are compounding, and it's making the situation worse. Now that we've discussed all of that, I want to talk about something fun. I am coming to America in March. I am going to be at the Wonders of the First Shattering event for their second set release. I've been having a ton of fun with this game. I'm super hyped about going to the event. I'm going to be there for probably about a week. So if you've ever thought it'd be cool to meet me and you're close in the South Carolina area, you can come on out. You're welcome to hang out, have a good time. We did that last time around, and it was awesome. So I have the information for that posted in my Discord. If you want to check that out, I'd be happy to see you guys down there. I'm super hyped on it. But now at this point, my jaw is starting to feel all this yammering. I'm still recovering from that surgery. So just want to say thanks for coming out and hearing what I have to say. A big thank you to my channel members and patrons. You guys rule. And I will see you all, my friends, in the next video.